What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and today we need to talk about an overall market disaster for a lot of short squeeze stocks, particularly CEI, BBIG, FAMi, and PROG. These stocks have been getting hit very hard today, and there are a couple of reasons why that we need to go over, and we need to talk about what the future of these stocks is going to look like. So let's take a look at the chart. First of all, we're going to be talking about CEI first, because this really is the catalyst that got a lot of these stocks moving in a very negative direction. Now you can see we are absolutely getting destroyed on the day. We're down 46%. This is really horrific, especially for a lot of the investors that were buying, a couple of days ago above $3, which is where it has been for the past while. We just got shot down to lows of $1.03 today. That is the low of the day. So nearly a 66% loss at the pits of today's trading. But we have been regaining a little bit of ground. We're up to $1.60. We're going to see if we can break past the $1.80 level. It seems potentially possible, but overall, today has been extremely negative for all of these stocks, CEI included. So what the heck happened with CEI? Well, I've already made a video covering this, so I won't go the most in-depth and bore you guys with it, but basically, at 11:09, Carisdale Capital released a tweet and a report on CEI, and they said, "We are short CEI. Report available at this link," which we'll look at in a second. This has something for everyone. Death spiral financing, a fake CFO, delinquent filings, fired auditors 3 weeks ago, insolvent energy assets, and the saddest family of entrepreneurs in the clean tech vaporware space. Now, if you actually click on this link and look at the report they released, it is basically a very bearish report that just highlights all of the fundamental issues that the company has. And we're not actually going to delve into it because that would be rather boring, but you can tell that it is very bad. I've read a bit of it. And basically, this tanked the stock price, okay? And it wasn't just this that tanked the stock price. It was a coordinated effort on a lot of institutions' parts to push this thing down. This was a very easy target for them to choose because if you look at the 3-year chart, you can see that this thing has been up to monumental heights, right? But has continuously been getting diluted by more of these offerings, and that is not what caused this to go down today. It was mostly the report and the loss of support amongst a lot of retail investors on the big drop that they saw initially, right? A lot of retail investors have been very fearful of this stock. Basically, as soon as they saw this big drop and trading actually had to be halted because it was such a dramatic drop multiple times. So you can see there's a bit of volatility and a bit of the price jumping around at times here, and that's because of trading being halted. So this has actually caused a lot of stocks to drop in sympathy with CEI. If you look at 11:09, that is when we first saw this first big-ish red bar moving us in a downwards direction when that report came out. Now, if you look at another stock like BBIG, you can actually see we were trading around for most of the day until 11:10, 1 minute afterwards, right, when people really realized what was going on with these short plays, and institutions were likely affecting these stock prices, right, shorting them, trying to push them down. You can see at 11:10 we saw a big red bar, and that led us on a downwards trend that broke us through this 570 resistance level or support level. Now you can see that that has been the last bastion of support that we've had for BBIG. We have been basically pushed down into new lows for the recent history. We haven't been this low for the past while. I mean, the lowest we absolutely ever went was actually not after our most recent highs, but the lowest we went since we started going on this pump up was at 550 about, and we haven't quite gotten there yet, but we are in the 550s, and it seems like we could be dipping down below 550 somewhat soon, right? If this trend continues, especially if all these institutions get their way. Now, another stock, FAMi, also made new lows today, right after their recent pump. If you look at the past 10 days, you can see they pumped up, made new lows today. Very bearish for FAMi. And this also, if you look at the chart, started at 11:13, so a couple minutes after BBIG. This one started dumping all around the same time, all within 5 minutes. Now, PROG is another stock that has been dumping just throughout the day. This stock has been getting pushed down, and I did want to talk about this one because this is a stock that has been getting a lot of attention lately. You can see up a lot over the past 30 days, right? And they were actually up at $2.45 at one point, but this is coming off of lows of 68 cents over the past 30 days, right? Now, they did just yesterday have a big direct stock offering, which led to a massive crash in stock price. And, they haven't been doing well since then. Obviously, it was going to be very tough for them to do well today when all these short squeeze plays are getting destroyed. You may as well throw PROG into the mix, and institutions may as well be shorting them also. So a lot of these stocks have been getting destroyed. And if you actually look at the short interest on these stocks, you can see CEI was not being shorted overall today, right? They may have been shorted initially when we first saw this massive dip in stock price. However, once shorts actually created enough fear that this stock was going to tank, likely after the first halt, they became net buyers of the stock and were actually able to cover a lot of their position. And that's understandable because when you see a 50% gain in your short position, you may as well cover it, right? The max gain you can get off a short is 100%. And it seems very likely to me that a lot of this buying pressure that we've seen lately is potentially shorts covering, right? After they dropped the stock down to lows of down 66%, that was a 66% profit for a lot of the shorts. So it makes sense that they would be slowly buying this thing up and basically eliminating their short positions because they don't want to get caught in a short squeeze situation now that the price has dropped so much. It becomes a lot easier for retail to put more money into it and buy up more shares with the amount of capital that they have. Now that the price is 50% cheaper, they can essentially buy twice as many shares and squeeze this thing twice as much if they have any capital to do that left with, right? But that's why institutions have been covering today. We are down 11% on the short interest, down to a 47.97% short interest as percentage of the free float. So still rather high, right? And obviously, we'll have to see what happens in the future if institutions continue to cover this play or if they continue to short it and try to push it down further and further. Because if you look, 30 days ago, this stock was at 35 cents. Now we're at $1.67. So some shorts decided to take the opportunity to cover. Not all of them have, obviously. We're still at, I think it's at 47%. Yep, 47%. So we're going to see if they try to push it down a lot more or if maybe retail can get the better of them, get this thing to squeeze a little bit. I'm very, very skeptical of whether or not we'll be able to get back up to all-time highs. I don't know. If you asked me yesterday, I'd have said that it would be relatively easy because we were already so close. But after seeing this hugely negative news, it seems a little bit far-fetched to me, unfortunately, right? I don't want to be a bear on these things. I'm just trying to be realistic, and all I'm saying is that I would not be looking to get involved in this play right now, especially after all the halting that was going on. It's very... I become very wary of stocks when I see that they get halted because that essentially removes any liquidity that there is. If a stock gets halted, I mean, even if there are a lot of people who want to buy the stock from you if you want to sell it, or a lot of people who want to sell the stock to you if you want to buy it, halting it just stops that process entirely and you are unable to do anything with your shares. And it's a very scary thing to see your money locked up. So I am very wary of stocks that get halted. So I will not be attempting to enter a position in CEI anytime soon. I would probably wait for this one to cool off and see where the dust settles with it. BBIG, on the other hand, we are breaking through the 570 support level that we had formed a while ago. It's really not looking good for this, right? This is almost certainly a coordinated effort on institutions' parts to just push these stocks down and get themselves out of their trouble that they've been getting themselves into. If you look at BBIG on Ortex, you can see that they have a very high short interest as well of 30%. That is up a little bit today, right? Shorts weren't necessarily covering this because they are only, making about a 5% profit on the day. It wasn't as massive of a drop as CEI was. It is still a 30% short interest, though. So there is some squeeze potential there, but it would really take a lot of upwards momentum in all of these short plays to regain some confidence in them, I think, for the retail investor. A lot of retail investors are losing confidence in these, especially after the CEI debacle. I mean, this is really horrific what happened with CEI and the ease at which this institution was able to manipulate the stock price, right? By just releasing this report on the fundamentals. I mean, this company, we were never pumping this based off of the fundamentals. We were pumping it based off of the short squeeze potential and the momentum play that was going on when a bunch of Twitter influencers were tweeting about it. So it really shouldn't have made that much of a difference, in my opinion, with the report that they released, because this was all about the company's fundamentals. So it does not make much sense to me why people decided to really dump this thing. I mean, almost certainly, institutions were shorting it in the beginning, and that created a bunch of FUD associated with the stock. And then people just started selling their shares back to institutions around these price points. So with FAMi, it really is unfortunate to see that this one has suffered a lot alongside CEI. I was very hopeful for this stock. It was pumping up quite nicely. And if you actually look at the one-year chart, you can see that we were making highs of $2.47 just a couple of months ago. And now we're all the way down at 33 cents. So, it is a long way for us to have fallen. I do think that there is room for this company to grow because this pump up was based on fundamental news. And I do not think that we are justified in dropping so much since this pump up, right? I think that this is a very reasonable price for FAMi to go to. I'm not entirely convinced that we're going to return to these lows that we've seen because this pump up was based, like I said, on fundamentals, right? An acquisition of a lumber company, an expansion of business model, new strategic supply chain partnerships. So I think that FAMi does have room to continue moving up. I am still bullish on FAMi. I still hold FAMi shares. This is the stock that I happen to be losing money on today. Pretty much everyone lost money. I'm very sorry to everyone who is probably down. If you watch this channel, you are probably invested in one of these stocks. And, a lot of us have been losing money, me as well. So that just shows you, not every day is going to be a green day, but oftentimes the green days can be much larger than the red days. That's important to remember because when you're losing money on stocks, you can only lose up to 100% of the money unless you're doing something very strange with options. But you can potentially make an infinite percentage on your money. There really is no limit to how much you can make if these stocks continuously move up. So I always think it's a great idea to invest. That's just my opinion, not financial advice for you guys. But on to the next stock, PROG. I know I briefly covered this and the direct offering that they went through yesterday. That basically just means that they were giving out shares to institutions, and likely those institutions were then able to either short shares because they already had those shares available and essentially basically just sell their shares. But this is likely just going down as news of the direct offering and the dilution is made available. It's not necessarily the institutions all selling their shares. It may be that, as this news became more apparent to people, a lot of, maybe retail, but most likely other institutions began shorting it, pushing it down. PROG is an interesting one because it has been going up. And, over the long term, it has a lot that it could run up to actually get up to its previous highs. We have been moving up from 89 cents all the way. We more than doubled at one point. So we were going up quite a bit. And it really looked like at one point, we could have been returning to some of our previous highs of around $4, maybe even $5 or $6. We're going to have to keep an eye on it. I'm not as bearish on it as I am on CEI because CEI really got destroyed today. And after that happens, typically stocks don't come back from that. When you see something down 50%, especially when institutions seem to coordinate this move down, it seems like they have pretty good control of CEI at this point, which is very unfortunate because it was until today the most promising looking of the four stocks that I'm covering. However, PROG does have some future squeeze potential. I think that we could maybe be moving up. We'll really have to keep an eye on it because I don't like seeing us make new lows day after day. Obviously, today is kind of an exception because of all the bad news that we got with these other squeeze plays. The squeeze market was red today. So this doesn't necessarily indicate anything too bad with PROG. It is down the least of all the other three, right? CEI is down 50%. BBIG is down 4%. FAMi is down 9%. PROG is only down 4%, but a lesser decimal place than BBIG. So there is some potential for PROG. We're going to have to keep an eye on it. I will be probably just covering PROG and FAMi in the future for the most part. Maybe BBIG as well. We'll really have to see, if we keep dipping down and I think this squeeze play is over, I will likely alert you guys to that. But other than that, I don't want to I don't want to contribute, information to a stock that I think might be dying off. So if we do see this thing continue to drop, then it might be done, in my opinion, for BBIG. And that's unfortunate. I know that a lot of people still believe in this stock, but you have to admit at some point, if the stock just keeps dropping and dropping, then at some point, the squeeze is likely done because institutions are no longer down on their short positions, right? If they start making enough money on them, then they don't have to worry about covering anytime soon. They can close those positions out anytime they like if the stock just drops low enough. And that's really a situation that I know a lot of people don't want to see, but it's a reality that people may have to accept at some point, right? So that's what I have for you guys on these stocks. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I know it wasn't the best news to be bringing, but I think it's important to report on both the good and the bad that happens in the stock market. So other than that, guys, have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.